To all of you, I believe hundreds of thousands and even million people out there that could be discovering this podcast, this broadcast. I've got something very important I want to talk to you about right now. There is a gathering of that order called the New World Order. It's the World Economic Forum. It's the Davos crowd, and they're meeting now. And I want to we just eavesdropped on the conversation because they're talking about a global economic reset, a collapse, if you will. You heard Joe Biden talk about the economic reset and the New World Order. It's coming, and it's coming perhaps a little bit faster than you thought. But we're going to take you right into the conversations, into the rooms where they're discussing these things openly, and we're going to talk about the regions that are opening up now. The Bible's opening up, the 10 kings, the 10 regions. They're starting to talk about how this order is going to look. If there was ever a time for you that have the ability to do what you need to do with that dollar that is in this free fall, crazy time when Biden's trying to add another $5 trillion of debt. Oh, $40 trillion. Isn't that a good idea? You need to go to lancewallnau.com/Birch, lancewallnau.com/Birch. Many of you are putting figuring out a way to peg your money into the gold. And you need to look at the gold and the silver because that's where the Bible says the gold and the silver are mine during the period of shaking. And read what you can, download the 20-page report, and don't say, well, I don't have any money for that. Get educated, because when you're educated, you'd be surprised how you start to attract what you need. It's coming, and you are going to be ready for it. Let's go into the broadcast. Welcome back to the news from a perspective that you never get. It's a prophetic dialogue. And when I say prophetic, it means that it reaches into the future and senses the trajectory of where things are going. And this is the one thing that I most appreciated about Rush Limbaugh as I learned to listen to him. He would not necessarily mimic or parrot or take the talking points of what was going on in the news cycle like so many of us do. You see one program is redundant on another, all covering the Will Smith slap of Chris Rock. I like to only cover those subjects that I think there's a unique perspective on that the average person hasn't heard. And then I'm satisfied and I'm gratified when we can bring that to the surface. Sometimes we achieve it, sometimes we don't, because we do it intuitively. We're having a conversation, and we're probing after that thing that's in the atmosphere that needs to be found. And a while ago, we were talking about the one world order, the new world order, the connection between that and the vaccine madness. And then the link started to be formed for us as we heard Yoram Hazani begin to articulate as a lead architect of Klaus Schwab's reset strategy, the beautiful merger of technology in the new world order. And then I was saying, and we were talking about how the battle is going to be, and I said it, we said it right here, that the battle between the Ukraine situation is a bigger enchilada. There's no good guy, bad guy in this. Although you could say it's admirable that Zelensky didn't leave the dugout while he was being bombed. Yes, same thing with Churchill. Didn't leave the dugout, didn't fly to Philadelphia. Admirable. But the real big meta story there, 30,000-foot narrative is the new world order and the World Economic Forum and the Davos crowd. I used to call it Davos, and then Gordon Pennington told me it's Davos. So the Davos crowd was surrounding Putin, and Putin's days were numbered. Putin was old school. Putin was about, he's nationalistic. And well, of course, he's the Eurasia landmass. If you look at where Russia is, it actually connects to China. And if you even look at Putin, he looks more like, if you look at him squint, you'll see there's more Asian Russian characteristics. So they don't think like we do in the West. And there's a dividing line in culture between East and West, especially since Europe went so woke, and the Russian Orthodox Church is part of the nationalist zeal of Russia. In other words, the two are woven into one. What that tells you is that Russia sees itself as a nation state. This man sees himself as a nation with empire in its blood, meaning at one time it had Eastern Europe. It had Latvia and Poland and Hungary and all these places within its orbit. And he calls it, Putin says it's a tragic day when the Soviet Union broke up. It wasn't a great day. To him, it was tragic. It's like the United States breaking up. So you don't take a guy like that with 1,600 nuclear-tipped weapons and try to surround him in an economic anaconda move where you're going to asphyxiate him and try to keep penetrating his culture with your woke Western, I hate to say it, LGBTQ ideas, because he hates that stuff. So Ukraine became the thorn in the flesh for him because he sees it as an extension of Russia, forfeited by Russia, being weaponized by the New World Order, and he punched back. And curiously enough, it was Nigel Farage, the leader of the Brexit down there in Britain, who delivered a speech, and I think it was in 2014. I played it last night at 1 a.m. in the morning, actually. I listened to it. And he was warning Parliament they were poking the bear by flirting with Ukraine joining NATO, that it was clear that Putin and Russia have been warning that they don't see the aggressiveness of the New World Order as friendly to their future. They see it as a threat to their nationalist existence, and that he's warned he will fight if they keep pushing, surrounding him and planting military bases on his borders. And he said, do not be surprised if this doesn't provoke a military response. You don't poke the bear. And that was Nigel Farage, and so they were playing it again because he warned this would happen. He's the only one who actually, everyone else was like shocked. Well, he said it was coming. So what I'm saying is the big battle, the big winner here is China, because China can watch us come to blows. In a unipolar world or in a multipolar world where there's different centers of power, the United States could only preserve that world order with a Trump involved, because Trump could keep the border healthy, manufacturing returned, the economy strong, energy vibrant, and the military unpredictably powerful. That era is gone. And I don't know if it's going to be recovered. I know everybody out there wants me to go prophesy. He's going to be back any day. I'm not going to tell you that because I'm watching the handwriting on the wall of America. If there isn't a change in America, America may be under a divine judgment. And I think it's kind of a gradual experience to try to provoke us to recover our martial vitality and our moral bearings. But let's see how the church responds. I'm not looking at the church. I'm not seeing the church respond yet. They're more worried about Christian nationalism than they are about judgment on America. That's the weird part. So I'm going to bring it back. We've got a couple of clips. Set up what we're going to look at, Mercedes, because this is the conversation of empires or world order, Davos, versus these stubborn little nation states, and how the world might break up into pockets of governed organization. And that would be the Bible's prediction of 10 kings or 10 economic regions just on the horizon.
I love it. So yeah, no, I was watching this morning. I do my morning crypto research. And the guy I was watching played a clip from, it's called the World Government Summit 2022. It just happened a couple of days ago. And so he was playing a clip. Day one, session one was, is the world ready for a new world order? And so they had a whole panel of people. And I brought it to you this morning. I said, you've got to listen to this because this is the stuff you've been talking about. And so I've got a couple different clips lined up. And I just want you to listen to what they're saying about Russia, about where we are now, and where things are going to be going. So let's play this first clip.
We are in a pivot with foreign policy to a policy that fundamentally and clearly serves economic needs, geopolitics to geoeconomics, as Dr. Anwar has suggested. I think is certainly an extremely important driver of what is going on today. But your sense, I want to get a sense of where we're at and the impact that this will have on global policy going forward and how this world is run.
The impact of the economics of it all. Well, first of all, let's take a look at what makes up world orders. World orders are that a group of countries across the world agree to a set of rules, and they agree to play by them. The second is there's a balance of power so that no power feels that it can subjugate a neighbor. That's what we've lost in Russia. There wasn't a balance of power. Europe decided the age of military power is over. And so Russia is attempting to subjugate Ukraine. But then the third part of this is a consensus that everyone accepts this. It's almost too utopian to come about. And so what's emerging right now, which I think is a danger, is a Chinese-centered order and a US-centered order, and that we're breaking down again. And that's not a healthy outcome. It's not the outcome we want. But that gets to the economics. And that's what I wanted to touch on, because the economics are that China, I think in 2016-17, invested $53 billion in the United States. Last year, $1 billion. So there's already a decoupling. There's already a breaking down. And the question is, how does this play out right now? And so I think you're going to see, in an economic sense, you're going to see these two worlds, but it's not going to be that neat. I think you're going to see the evolution of regional organizations, and regional, because it's so hard to create a world order, I think you're going to see regional orders spring up. And then you have links between regional orders, but they will be very much guided by economic interests, social interests, and also security interests. You see things like the Quad, like the Abraham Accords, so ad hoc, not inflexible alliances, and that seems to me what's emerging at the moment.
So Lance, I loved this clip because literally this is the stuff you've been talking about. This is what you've been saying about Russia and how, and it's so controversial what you're saying, right? I mean, you've gotten a lot of pushback from people saying, why aren't you supporting Ukraine? What's going on? And you're saying, listen, an inadvertent consequence of Putin going after Ukraine is that he is throwing a wrench into the new world order that they're trying to form in Europe. I mean, the language that this guy used, I thought was so interesting. He says, we're breaking down again. Did you hear him say that? We're breaking down again. And as a result, we're going to end up with regional orders because it's too difficult to create a new world order. Isn't that, I just thought it was fascinating, but I wanted to hear your comments on it.
Yes, so, and the result of this is what Davos decided they wanted was to poke the bear and to provoke the bear into, they're just giddy with the fact that they're attempting to crush the economy through their woke corporate alliances, all particularly American. And you got Thomas Friedman with his delirious fever dream of celebration over how, oh, you corporations individually went at it and you crushed all the citizens of Russia. You've put them into a tailspin like a Great Depression, 140 million people suffering. This is the success of this working together in unity through technology and corporations governing politics with them. But it's the stupidest thing in the world, because what that strategy did was it made all the Russians who would be upset with Putin for what he's doing sympathetic to each other and him, because it looks like the West hates them and we're attacking them. And of course, they control the media. So they're saying, look how they hate us. So it wasn't a well thought out strategy. It drove China and Russia together, which we always want to keep separated. But you know what? The world order likes it. I'll tell you why they like it. They now have an Iron Curtain. They have a region. Watch what he said. They have a region they could bring into their new world order. Europe and the United States. We'll talk about that when we come back. Hello, my friends on Facebook and Instagram. I have something for you, something which is going to be going away very quickly, so I want to make it available to you. I did an analysis a year ago of the characteristics of a religious cult or a religion in general that becomes an unhealthy obsession. And I realized as I was doing my research that many of the researchers I'm studying are saying that the progressive left is becoming, with its woke movement, more and more like a religion, with their own sense of the sacred, their own required confessions and words, and their own blasphemy laws. And I started to realize, oh my gosh, the woke progressive left is like a counterfeit awakening. That's why it's called an awakening. And it's merging with politics to put a new form of religious merger with government over America. I want you to be the first one to understand this subject because it's already here. Go to lancewallnau.com. I've made it simple. At the top of the page, you can download the free chapter from my book that describes the counterfeit religion. the progressive fundamentalism that's taking over America or attempting to and provoking a backlash. That's lancewallnau.com. Please go there, download the free chapter on the page because it's only going to be up a little while longer.
Your Excellency, are you ready for a new world order?
I think, Becky, the main problem is if you think of the technology is 21st century, 22nd century technology. What is happening in AI, what is happening everywhere really that will really transform and is transforming our lives and also transforming international relations. But I think the frame of thinking is still 19th century. I think this is one of the problems that we have in the international system. If you look, it's still about nationalism, it's still about state sovereignty, it's still about use of force or non-use of force. And I think this is one of the major issues as we try to bridge really what is mentally governing international relations with the 19th century mode of thinking, but at the same time with technology fast ahead of us in the curve. That I think will be a major problem.
So there you hear it, folks. And curiously enough, this is from the Arab oil emirates, I assume. Mm-hmm. And they're saying, well, we have the technology of the millennium, potentially, future technology for a utopian society, but we have this antiquated old notion of nations. If only we could move into no borders, no walls, no USA at all. And they, by the way, they say this and don't believe it. Because if you were to say, so are you saying that you would like to break down the boundaries between Iran and you, which are sworn enemies because Iran wants to wipe Israel off the map and the Saudis? He would say, oh, heck no. We don't want to do that. We can't trust the Iranians. They want to destroy us. So you see, the point is, you guys have to catch this. The beast in the Bible is the cobbling together of 10 economic, social security zones. This guy said it in the earlier broadcast, and I took notes. He said that the balance of power has to be able to guard against subjugation by a neighbor. And in order to do that, what you're going to need is you're going to have some kind of security and economic and cultural regional alliances. Kind of like the Abraham Accords that Donald Trump put together was a security, cultural, economic alliance with Israel and the friendly nations that want to flourish under the democracies, or at least the economies that operate with democracies. And it was a safeguard against Iran. Problem is the dum-dums in Washington, the Philistines, who look to me like the instrument of God's judgment on America to bring it to its senses, decided to side with Iran and help them get a nuclear weapon. And because, of course, Iran wants to destroy the United States, so they're going to help them do it and alienate the affection and the alliance that Trump put together between the Saudis and each other and the Arab states, along with Egypt, with Israel. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how stupid can you get? I mean, I watch this stuff and it's so obvious. I wonder why there isn't more people honking the horns over this stuff. Anyway, this was such a valuable segment because he's saying nation states get in the way. But tie that back to the earlier segment where the guy said, I just think that the problem we have with Russia is it really put a nail in the tire of our global zeal for a new technological one world order because, this is the part that scares me about leftists, academics, Europeans, and Americans. China is not going to be subservient to you. They're going to take over the world. That's their goal. Russia sees itself as the empire. They don't have global aspirations. They simply want to dominate Europe and have a route into the Middle East. It's like Stalin and Hitler. History has moments when world powers negotiate and eat up the rest of the table. But Klaus Schwab, he's like a Bond villain. He isn't exactly where I'm putting my money either. Him and his nut job Hanani there want to put surveillance under your skin, and they see China as willing to do deals with them if they could show them how to monitor everybody with a new cryptocurrency under the skin that tells you where people are and can maybe even affect how they think. Oh my gosh, where this is going is crazy.
It's really, I mean, this is a great segment. I'm looking forward to playing the whole thing for you. Like I was like, we have to listen to it because it's about 45 minutes long and it's on YouTube. I mean, if you want to go watch it, I'll just put into YouTube, World Government Summit 2022. And it's the first day. It's about 6 hours long. This is the first 45 minutes. And it gets better and better as they share more and more. But you're right. It's a window into what it is that especially Europe is trying to put together, right? I mean, they have been trying their darndest to put together their own regional.
The amazing thing is we wrote about this.
Yeah.
We wrote about this before the election and said Europe is going to be looking for a digital passport. It's going to have a digital currency. It's going to be able to ID you and track you. What we were not willing to go to at that point was that the vaccine would provide the ability for them to do surveillance through, nanotechnology under your skin, because that seems so, I don't know, dystopian, but they actually are telling us that's the advantage of the vaccines, is that they can merge them. But that's not in the vaccine,
though, right now.
It's not in the vaccine.
You're saying that you think that's in the vaccine now?
No,
it's not?
I'm saying that Yuri Hazani is saying that this is the potential and the gift that COVID gave us is the whole world has accepted science instead of religion as their new citadel of their cathedral of ultimate power. Absolutely. This is great progress, and the vaccines provide a deliverable system for our long-desired global identity work so that everyone has a global ID, and it's virtually, the sky's the limit for making man into God once we get technology injected.
Well, you got to go listen to it because they go even further. They talk about digital. Oh, we don't have enough time to play the clip. And I'll tell you what, we'll pull it into the podcast. So we do this every single day during the week.
Watch. We do
Lance Wallnau Show.
We do this show on Saturday, one day a week. This is like a little teaser, but every day in the week you can go to Lance Wallnau Show, as what you were saying.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Yeah, but come watch the podcast because what I'll do is I'll pull these clips into the podcast and we can go through them. And I want you to also explain at some point. We don't have time for it now. But the 10 economic regional zones where you're getting that's biblical. That's a concept that comes right out of, I believe it's Daniel. And so we could talk about that on the podcast. And I want to play more clips.
You have more clips now?
No, not now, but on the podcast because I have a whole one all about the digital currency, CBDCs. And in fact, some of these people are actually really concerned about getting a digital Bill of Rights for citizens because this technology is advancing so fast that we don't even have a Bill of Rights built for it. I mean, like you say, every single transaction is going to be recorded on the blockchain when you have a central bank digital currency. And just so you understand, not all cryptocurrency is bad. A lot of it is privatized. The dangerous one you're talking about is when CBDCs are introduced. The goal here really is just to collect money. They want to tax everything. Every transaction, your bank is going to switch to digital. Every time you send money, they're going to take a percentage of that.
And you saw how Trudeau handled GoFundMe.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then you saw how Give, Send, Go was treated by totalitarians.
Yeah. And you get to China. How China is with the social system.
They'll just shut off the water flow right there. And it's kind of like I'm banned on TikTok. And so I got to make my appeal. Arbitrarily, my point is arbitrarily, some government official can look at your social score and your electricity's off.
Yeah.
Because this is their way of bringing you into the new religion. You're not sufficiently converted yet.
Oh yeah, you've had your air conditioner on too much. Your green, credit score is, through the roof. So this is going to be shut off.
Plus you have 3 cars that are all fuel dependent rather than electric, and that adds to the overall burden.
That's coming. I'm convinced about that. Like if we can't get the right people in office.
Let me give you some hope out there. Let me give you some hope. I only got 2 minutes to give you hope. Go to lancewallnau.com. and find out which Book of Acts activist group you want to join. We have an activist guide. Do we have that available yet?
Yeah, but it's lancewallnau.com / I think it's activist.
Well, lancewallnau.com / And we're going to start to organize people in terms of their activations and what area they want to fight in. We've got 2 minutes left. I want to point something out. I am now seeing hope on the horizon. And the hope on the horizon is Daniel. Well, what is it? What have you guys got there? And I'm seeing all these headlines Denver's throwing up there.
It's fine. It's just whatever they think you're going to
you
queue
guys
up
are,
next.
okay,
Don't
I
even
was just
worry
wondering if I was supposed to reference them. But Daniel chapter 7, which Denver doesn't have, and it talks about this next phase of global governance. They're talking about a global economic collapse. Biden himself said that because of economics and blah, 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 there's a new world order, and America's got to lead it. Yeah, not with you, knucklehead. You're like Barney Fife with a gun. So here's the deal. The Bible says in Daniel chapter 7, he says, I beheld, there was like these different empires rising through history. And then one came that was the fourth beast he saw in a series, dreadful and terrifying, extremely strong with large iron teeth. Different from all the other previous empires and beasts that were before it, because it had 10 horns. 10 horns. And I was contemplating the horns, and behold, another horn, a little one, came up among them, and 3 of the first ones were pulled up by the roots. And this horn spoke with a supernatural mouth. This would be the Antichrist. He will not show up until 10 regional economic zones have been established, probably after the Great Reset actually happens with a global economic reset. And who are the 10 horns? It says clearly in the same chapter, verse 23, the 10 horns are 10 kings. 10 kings will arise with 10 kingdoms. These are going to be the zones. That'll be the zones that will reflect the religious values, the cultural values, the economic integration, and the security guarantees. Eventually, someone's going to rise up in the middle of those 10 and subjugate all 10. That's what the Bible says, which should give you hope, because the Bible says that those 10 will be smashed by the kingdom of God. We'll talk more about that next time we get together.
You know, I wrote a book, and I talked about Haggai, the prophet, talking about God is going to shake all the nations, including economic systems. And then just recently, I got challenged by a verse. It says, the silver is mine and the gold is mine. And I began to think, you know what? I'd hate to find out there was a promise and a warning here on silver and gold, and I never even thought about it. And that's the reason why I want you guys to do something right now. You want to get a 20-page special report on silver and gold. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch, because Birch Gold is one organization that is being used by a lot of very credible people right now in order to position themselves with silver and with gold. You need to now start to look into this and learn what it is that maybe God was trying to say, that the silver is mine and the gold is mine. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and find out for yourself.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world. See you